All right, here we go. Late night happy hour legal podcast. Law and Sporter. Judge Dan, Justin Watkins. Bunch going on. It's funny. I was asking Dan right before we started. Justin was like, "Hey, you got some topics tonight, some angles," and I don't even know what you sent over exactly, but you were like, "Yeah, COVID and vaccine seems to be real hot right now." My God, there are stories coming down. Like it feels like a bunch came down today about the vax cards and requirements to get into events. And I know, Justin, you've been saying the whole time when it comes to vaccinations and employer requirements, like once it started, there would be an avalanche. And clearly on the event and like indoor dining stuff and all that, bars, gyms, people are seeing it, companies are seeing it, events are seeing it. And now it's like it's a freaking avalanche of basically, I believe, punishing the unvaccinated. And the reason I say this is a lot of events are saying you need to be fully vaccinated to get in or have proof of a negative test within 48 to 72 hours. But we do realize going through this process, you know how annoying and difficult it is to get a negative test within 72 or 48 hours of an event. So it's like you can do it, but now you're gonna have to pay extra to get the 1 day test. So I mean, talk about like really starting to put the screws to people who are not vaccinated.
Yeah, I don't think they're punishing anybody. From a, if we're just looking at a strictly legal basis, and if you're in a state that doesn't have any sort of COVID immunities or emergency declaration immunities, Nevada has a COVID immunity under this under the emergency declarations, which says, basically there can be no liability against a property owner or business if their transmission has occurred on the property or business and the business was following all mandates. So as long as they were enforcing masks, that's the only current mandate that there is, then they're going to be fine. So I don't think it's, from my perspective, if you're in the business of gathering a whole bunch of people together, I think it's the most prudent way to ensure in states that don't have this immunity that you're not going to get sued by somebody who thinks that they got. I mean, you're going to get sued. You're going to get sued by anti-vaxxers. That's going to happen. But you're going to win that lawsuit, and I think you'll win it quickly and easily. But a COVID transmission lawsuit, you may not, depending on the state.
What do you think, Dan? You know, all these new rules that are being put in, and it's going to be sporting events. I think in a lot of locations around the country, concerts. I saw New Orleans is like really ratcheting down. Basically, you want to go to a restaurant or a bar, you got to be fully vaccinated. You got to have proof, or you got to have that test, that negative test. I mean, listen, for someone who likes to go to bars, like I don't plan out my goddamn bar visits, days in advance. I'd essentially have to get a test every day.
Or you could just get a vaccine.
Or,
you could do that.
Or that. I'm trying to put myself in the position of the anti-vaxxer, the person who is unvaccinated. I mean, this is like people were like looking at the NFL and they're like, man, they're really making it tough on the folks who are unvaccinated. No, this is tough.
No, it's a lot tougher to play in the NFL without being vaccinated than it is to kind of just hang out in society, because you have a lot more choices, to be honest with
yourself. You. If you only have a couple of bars in town, then and you're a bar fly, then that makes it rough.
Well, that's your choice. I mean, that is completely
I know.
your choice. Like to play in the NFL, the choices that these athletes, let's say last year, they had to do to play, it was very tough to go live in a bubble for months at a time. That was tough. The protocol, to play Major League Baseball the season before last was tough. So athletes actually had it pretty tough to get through seasons previously. And I guess if you are refusing to get vaccinated, you're going to have to put yourself through those tough protocols again. That is pretty tough. The life that you kind of have to go, the hoops you have to go through right now to do that is tough. You want to go to a bar and you don't want to get the shot and you have to get tests. That's not so tough. Go get a 6-pack and go home, I guess. I don't know, man. Like, to be honest with you, I'm getting pretty tired of it. Yes, it's America, it's freedom, but I tell you what, man, if they try and lock down the schools again after the trauma that we've seen that our kids went through, I'm not. I'm going to be pissed because it was not good for the mental health of our kids. We didn't know that it was going to be that way at the time, but it was devastating to the mental health for a great many of our children, including my own. And I'm going to be pissed if we have to go down to lockdowns again because these, people don't care about each other. And they're, if you had a bunch of data that was saying that there was a good reason for it, I guess that'd be one thing. But if you want to make your choices, fine. But I'd rather be tougher on the malfeaser, so to speak, in my mind, than on the kids. And so if you want to go to a bar, then you jump through the hoops you have to go through the bar to protect the rest of us.
Yeah. Amen. I will say, like, for these concert venues and sporting events, I think they're in a much better position to actually enforce this kind of thing. I think that there is, when you're talking about bars, restaurants, gyms, I'm just going to say my experience is there's enforcement fatigue on the employees. They didn't sign up for this shit. They're not here to be, you know, vaccinated or mask cops. That's not what they want to do. And I'll just tell you, kind of the gym I go to, some of the restaurants I go to for lunch, like my gym, it's like it, it's maybe 10% of the people wearing masks, and they just sort of thrown up their hands and said, you know what, we're not going to go around and yell at everybody all day long. They just sort of given up, and I know that when I go in, I know it, I get it. So
Here's an interesting question. I did talk about this on the show over the weekend. So on my Facebook feed, and I know you guys have probably seen these signs, right? That you outside of a restaurant. On the restaurant, it said, "Please be patient with the staff that did show up. We're just short staffed." Now, this was the sentence that was a little controversial. It said, "Nobody wants to work." Now, is that really appropriate for a restaurant to be putting out there? Probably not. But when I read that sign, I take it to mean, please just be patient with us. We're short staffed. We're having a hard time getting people to work. My friend who posted that, she took it a completely different way. She said, well, thank God in our town that we live in, we have another option to go to because it's clear that this restaurateur doesn't want to pay its employees. Therefore, nobody wants to work for him. I never would have thought of it that way. I would have thought of
That's
it
the
as
way
like
I,
they're just.
that's the way I look at it, and I would not frequent that place. You
You
want to
really
you want to
think?
yes, yes. Yeah, I'm tired of hearing about people don't want to work. People don't want to work for shitty wages. These are not great jobs. And if you treat your employees like that or potential employees by calling them out, I can spend my money somewhere else. Pay your employees. Don't rely on us to pay them. Don't rely on us to tip them to have them make a living. You can make a little less money, bar owner or restaurant owner. Sorry, I'm not trying to be anti-restaurant or anti-bar. I'm just pro-labor. Sorry, there's
Justin,
there's
Justin,
an awakening.
when you open that Whataburger or whatever it is that you won't tell us about, remember every waitress needs to make 100 grand or 80 grand without tips. Stop being so freaking greedy, Justin.
yeah, hey, I mean, I'll deal with that when it comes, and I think I will be an advocate for a fair wage for the people that work for me for sure. I'm more on the side of labor than I'm on the side of business a lot of times. But I will say this: when I hear that sign, the thing that pops to mind for me is people are not willing to sign on to these jobs during pandemic times because it's not the same job anymore. It's become mall cop job, and that's a shitty job. Nobody wants to do that, like there's the viral video of the poor lady in the Denny's, and the guys come in and they're not wearing masks. She's like, hey, can you please put on the mask until I sit you down, and then once I get you some water or something, then you can take the mask off. They're like, nope, our constitutional rights, and you can't do this, and we've made a complaint. And she was just like, I'm done, I give up, I quit. And the manager came out and was like, please just stay, you guys go. And it wasn't because the job was shitty, it wasn't because the pay was shitty, it's because the job has become something completely different than what it used to be, because the government, rather than to step up and say we are going to require vaccinations for all these different aspects that we do have control over, have pushed that responsibility down to the business owners, and they did a hell of a job for a year and a half. But I see the fatigue on it now, man. I see these businesses do not want to do this anymore. Now, like I said, sports venues, concert venues, they're much better equipped to handle this kind of stuff. They can absolutely, with the technology they have everybody uploaded and everybody gets screened at the door, and they can handle this. But Denny's, IHOP, come on. I wouldn't want to work there right now either.
Yeah. Absent that last sentence, if it just had said, "Hey, please be patient. We're short-staffed. Be patient on us," I wouldn't have thought anything of it. It was an inappropriate comment for, in my opinion, a restaurateur to be putting on there. But I never take it that it's a market system. Is what it is. Mom and pop restaurants, they're not making money hand over fist. I guarantee you. That's why they go out of business. Restaurants are not huge money makers in general. They go out of business. That's why they pay the wages they do pay. It's not because they're hoarding all the money.
But I think,
Well,
but
I mean,
I do think that gives you a general idea of how that owner feels about its employees. Sorry.
Well, he's frustrated. He's frustrated, but he's going through all the stress that everybody else is.
Bad for business.
Yeah, it is stupid. It was dumb. It's not professional.
I don't need to know your problems. So
right. No, I agree. No, I agree.
And I guess the counterpoint, Dan, would be if the laws required everybody to pay these types of employees more, then we would, as consumers, have to take that on with increased food prices. And will we be willing to do that so people have a living wage in these types of jobs, or are we not willing to do that? That's ultimately what it comes down to, from my perspective. For me, I'm willing to do that. Like
Yeah.
I tip a lot because I know the job sucks. And in Nevada, the minimum wage is adjusted for tipped employees to be, I think it's $1.75 an hour. Like their wages are
Ridiculous.
absolutely dependent upon tips.
And by the way,
there's
not. I mean, I would say 90% of the restaurants I've been to in Nevada and California, they've already made adjustments on their menus and they've already raised prices. So, and I pay that willingly. But I mean, there's a lot of days we go to breakfast and I'm like, God damn, man. Well, like it's pricey now. Now I don't complain. I just pay it. But then if the restaurant's going to turn around and be like, oh, crappy labor force, people don't want to come in and work. Like, what's going on here? Are you passing on the money? What is happening? But I do like that you brought this up. This is really interesting because I think everyone looks at that sign a little bit differently, and there could be just as many people, who would replace me and go, oh, you know what? I do feel bad for the restaurateur that they're frustrated, and these kids these days, they don't want to work. So maybe it doesn't backfire. Maybe it works for them.
Well, I'll say this: the franchise I'm about to sign on the dotted line with, it's a Southern California franchise, and they're in 2 counties that require $15 minimum wage. Right? They still make it. So it just adjusts. The menu adjusts. The prices adjust.
All right. Let me see. I just found this story a little while ago, and I know Adam asked about this. I think this is what he was going at when we talked about it yesterday. Headline: doesn't expose to COVID after Nevada parent knowingly sent an infected child to school. About 80 people have been exposed to the coronavirus after a school district in Northern Nevada said a parent knowingly sent a child to school 2 days after learning the student tested positive. What sort of liability is that parent facing if people get sick and they lose wages or they, amass massive hospital bills? Because the trick is actually, proving that you got it from that specific person, right? From that kid.
Yeah. I mean, they could trace it. It's possible to do that sort of contact tracing and to do the genetic tracing to get down to, I'll say, a level of certainty that would fly in civil court to prove that case up. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the type of liability that she's going to face is dependent on what kind of damages we have. If just kids were exposed and they're fine, well, then not much. How far down the chain do we go if that kid then brings it home and then that kid gives it to their grandparent, and then the grandparent passes away, would the probable cause, I mean, would the approximate causal chain connect, or would a court cut that off? I think it's an open question. I do. I'm not so sure that they would find that woman responsible for the 2 layers of transmission that it got to the grandparent.
Well, certainly foreseeable, but I would say also from criminal side, um, it would be something to look at as well, depending on how bad the thing got. There's certainly been cases with sexually transmitted diseases and AIDS where people have been prosecuted when they did it knowingly. And would they start doing this if it's clear cut with COVID? I mean, it's disgusting if she did this. I don't know what her motivations were. Why would you do this? Whoa! What happened to you, Jets fan?
I just moved into my bedroom. I know. We're gonna have a lot more of these cases, are we not?
Yeah.
I mean, she just had nothing to do? She doesn't have daycare. She's desperate. Single mom, had to send the kid to school. The kid wasn't feeling bad. She didn't believe in the testing. Who knows what the circumstances were? I have no idea. But it's bad.
Yeah, I think a lot of times that you hear this story, I do think that they're experiencing little or zero symptoms, and they're like, "Oh, it's not that bad. Like what the one I have isn't that bad. I'm all right to get out of there." And they go out into the public thinking if I transmit it, they're going to have the exact same experience I'm having. I think that there is a level of that going around that you fear it, you get it. Oh, that's not that bad. All right, I'm safe to get out there because I feel fine,
Right.
which is clearly against the science. That's not how it goes. But I think that there is some level of thought that goes with that, and then you pile on all the considerations that Dan's talking about. I can't find anybody to take care. I can't lose my job if I missed a couple days. I don't know what the circumstances were. I would, it would be a really sad thing if the circumstances were I could keep this kid at home, but you know what? Screw the system and screw all the vaccinated people and screw the government. I'm sending my kid to teach them a lesson. So
Interesting. Casablanca Rick talking airlines now because United said employees have to be vaccinated. Other airlines are holding off on this. I've seen a lot of people say, "I'm not flying those other airlines. I will fly United," as Casablanca Rick says here.
How do you fly whatever airfare is cheapest?
I was going to say, how do you think this plays out? Because I'll tell you a story about my travels coming up. But how do you think this plays out?
I don't know that you always hear about the boycott. I don't know how impactful it's going to be, but I'll tell you this. One thing that's going to happen with me is I do all my credit card purchases on a Southwest credit card. I have like all the points in the world from back in my legislative days when I flew back and forth from Reno all the time. And I've always just built points. I've been a loyal Southwest customer. I'm gonna cancel that card. I'm gonna get a different card.
Why? Really?
Yeah.
Damn, that's
give up all those points?
I want them to take a stand. Now the points never go away.
Oh, okay.
But it's of all the industries that should be absolutely requiring vaccinations, airline is got to be number one, way above concerts and sporting events. I mean, at least in concerts and sporting events, you can create some circulation of air. Not an airplane, man.
You're saying take a stand. You're with just their employees, right? Or are you saying they should go to everyone who flies needs to be vaxxed?
I would love that. Or the 48-hour test. I would love that. I mean, we already know Hawaiian Airlines has already created the system. We already know it exists. There's a 72 hours, not 48 hours, but they were requiring 72 hours when it was nearly impossible to get the results within 48 hours. So the system exists. I flew Hawaiian, when all of that was figured out, and we went through the process, and you have a level of comfort when you get on the plane that it's not 100%. Somebody could have developed it in the last 72 hours, but when I look around the plane, at least 72 hours ago, everybody was negative. So yeah, I mean, 100% the employees need to be vaxxed. Like that's a no brainer. That should be a non-negotiable. So I applaud United on this front, and yes, it will change my travel plans if United could do it. Yeah, I'll fly United. Uh, and I am going to cancel my Southwest card. And there's a secondary reason I'll tell you too, is what made Southwest such a great airline in my mind was it was ultra reliable, and I never got delayed, I never got canceled, and I've flown Southwest 4 times this year, and every single one of my flights, each leg, every flight was delayed, one was canceled. So I think that and they say it's a labor shortage, and I get it, but
Nobody
something,
wants to work. Be patient with us.
yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the big problems with Southwest, because I'm like you, I have a card and I try to fly Southwest first and foremost, but they cut out so many flights and they cut out so many of their nonstop flights. It's been
Mhm.
hard to find any decent flights on Southwest. So I don't think I'm ready to cancel the card and bail on Southwest. They could always change this. So
I'm out. Capital One.
damn.
So I'm going.
Damn. So because Southwest doesn't fly east to as many locations nonstop as it used to, I am going to New Jersey and I'm flying into Philly next week. I rolled the dice. I don't know if I'm going to get a good greeting on the chat room. I rolled the dice and I booked a Frontier flight.
Denver, baby.
I was going to say Frontier is only good to fly to one place. Denver.
Yeah. It's a red eye. And the significant other started getting really fired up about the seats because apparently they don't recline. So she got so fired up. I bought tickets one way. They were really cheap. They were like, say, $136 one way. I wound up, because of the bags and upgrading to like one of the only 3 rows that actually had padded seats and recline, I just paid another $96 a ticket.
Southwest is the biggest scam, dude.
No,
Don't you know this?
Frontier.
Or excuse me, Frontier.
I didn't know that it was that bad. If I get on this plane and these seats don't recline and they're not actually padded, I'm gonna be fucking pissed. But I did it, so I'm screwed. So
yeah, Frontier is famous for this. Okay. Oh, it's a $49 fare, whatever it is. Oh, $35 each way for bags. Oh, you want to sit in this part of the plane? Blah 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 blah. I mean, it's minimum $250 per ticket, adding on just a normal ticket. So add on whatever your teaser rate was, plus $250 to $300. You're going to the East Coast, forget about it.
I'm at before I buy because I didn't fly with them back. I think I'm trying to think what I have here. Let's see, 220. I'm at a little over 300 round trip, which is still really cheap. So once I pay for bags on American, hopefully it won't be any more than like 370 round trip a piece. So we'll see.
I think Frontier is a great deal if you're a single male traveling by yourself, going from one destination to the other, and you've got everything on you, right? Yep. Like then you're built for that.
Here's the thing:
I don't think you still have to pay for check bags now, or excuse me, carry on. You're still paying.
No.
Carry on.
You can get on with a backpack as long as it's not
backpack. That's what I'm saying. If it's on you, if it's a backpack that you can fit under your seat, it's no charge.
Okay.
Yep.
And if you just say, "Hey, place me wherever you place me. I have no seat preference," then you got no charge there. No peanuts, no drinks. You just go to sleep with your headphones. It's the only way Frontier works. But I'll tell you, Frontier is light years ahead of Spirit. Spirit's like the worst experience I've ever had on air.
I fly Spirit often, but the fact that like Justin said, I don't care. Like, I don't want to sit in a middle seat, so I try to avoid that. And I've almost always avoided middle seats. And I don't mind the no padding, and I don't even mind the not reclining thing. I don't give a shit. I fall asleep. I'm probably going to destroy everyone around me by snoring. So I'll get everyone back. I'll get the stewardess back, or whoever the flight attendants. But like you said, if you fly with people who want to be comfortable and are going to be bothered by those things, then you're kind of screwed. And now Spirit is canceled. I guess the last like 2 months they've been delayed and canceling flights all over the place.
Oh yeah. When I'm traveling by myself, man, you give me whatever you want. I'll take the middle seat. I don't need the armrest. I tuck in, go to sleep, man. I'm out. I'm out as before we take off, and I can make for some pretty cheap travel now. As I've gotten a little older, I've become a little bit softer in that regard, and tend to be a little picky about my airlines and the services and the seats and the comfort and all that because I can't sleep as easily on the plane as I used to. But I used to fly a ton. When my first 10 years of being a lawyer, I flew a ton. And I backpack, man, I was in and out. I had the thing figured out.
Yep.
Wear the
Let's
suit on the plane so you don't have to pack a suit. You wear a suit on the plane. You got a backpack for your. I had it all figured out. Oh, and I used to do I had a little bait and switch on the reimbursement too. You book the ticket, cancel it, use your miles, get the reimbursement. Cash in
let's
hand.
go back. Let's go back to the vax policies and the masking and stuff. I think Raphael is a really good question because I've seen this too, and we actually addressed this story today. No, it was yesterday. The GM of Allegiant said that the new mask mandate caused Allegiant to lose 2 future big events at the stadium. When asked what the events were, I think his name was Chris Wright. He said, I can't say. And Adam and I both went on the air and were like, did this really happen? What do you mean you can't say? And maybe there's a legal reason they can't say, or they're going to try to rebook in 2022. But when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, okay. But Raphael has a good question here. Saying, what do you think of the mask mandate and casino now requiring masks for guests? Lots of guests canceling trips to Vegas and even conventions. Will this hurt us and go back to closing?
I mean, nobody likes the mask mandate, and I don't like where the numbers are leading us. I mean, I think everybody in government in the state of Nevada is going to do everything they possibly can to not order another lockdown. I really do believe that because I think they know if another lockdown gets ordered, they're all out. Like it'll be universal because of so many different reasons, because of a job reasons, it's because of school reasons, it's because of the kids. I mean, there are so many layers of why people are unwilling to go back to that I don't I think it would have to get really really bad again for them to order that. So I think the mask mandate was something that they felt like they could do. I did see some of the elected officials taking a little bit of a victory lap on Twitter this week when Nevada was the lowest on 14-day increase in cases percentage wise. It was the lowest in the nation. And they were like, we were the first to institute mask mandate after the CDC guidelines. And this is the result. I don't know about that, man. I mean, we shot up really damn quick. Our numbers were so high. We were disproportionately high compared to the rest of the nation. So there's only at some point it's got to sort of level itself off. It can't just keep shooting up at 300% forever. So I'm not so sure that there's a correlation there to the mask mandate, and that's why the numbers sort of leveled off. Yeah, exactly, Mark. I agree with you there. So I didn't really agree with the logic of the victory lap. From my perspective, I would be absolutely advocating, and I would be working with the resorts and tech companies to say require vaccination, and or masks, and you have to enforce it, and we'll help you create ways in which you can enforce that. So if there's a anti-vax hotel that's somewhere and they're all got to wear their mask, okay. But I don't know that the mask mandates. My personal experience in walking around the city right now is the mask mandates aren't being enforced by the companies out there. They're tired of it. Everywhere I walk, it's some are choosing to follow the rules and a bunch aren't, and I don't see anybody giving anybody flack about it.
Did you guys think we would have this hard of a time with vaccination? I mean, what are we, nationwide? What are we?
Like just around 50%.
Did you guys think we were going to have this hard a time?
I didn't. I thought it was like a lotto when I got that call and I was able to get in and get the vaccination, and it was fairly early on. I was I would knock down doors to go get that thing, and I thought everybody was going to feel the same way. They wanted to get their lives back, but I don't know how it got turned around. I really don't.
I
Because
asked that
vaccine,
question on the show, and we have some of those texters out there. They're just like, Dan, are you kidding me? People are dying from this thing. And I was like, it's like, go to the CDC. And then I did. And I saw some numbers that was like 6,000 people that have gotten the shot have also died. Not died from the shot, but have died. Some of them may have died from the shot. Some of them may have had cancer. Some of them may have had an unknown cause. But it was like, I'm not seeing the data that would say, certainly people got very sick. One of the side effects of the shot is some people get fatigued. They get flu-like symptoms. They don't feel well for a couple of days. It's not a perfect thing, but man, I'm surprised. I'm really surprised that we're having this hard a time for this
yeah.
long.
And to Mark's point there, like that's what I don't get. If it's based on being a Trump supporter, take a victory lap with Trump. I mean,
Yeah,
if there's something I'm going to give him credit for, it's the rollout of the vaccine. They got it. They got it before he was done. I mean, he lost the election, but before he was out, the vaccine was out. It was ready to go. Like, take the victory lap with him, and Trump got the vaccine. So I really don't understand that correlation. The correlation absolutely exists, no doubt. It does exist. I just don't understand the logic behind it.
that's what I said on the show. I said I don't get it. The previous administration supported the vaccine. The current administration supports the vaccine. How did it become so political? There was a video I saw on a website today. They were interviewing a Trump supporter, and the reporter said, this is the Trump vaccine. Why don't you support it?" This is the Trump vaccine. He was put under pressure to say he supported the vaccine, and the guy said, "Well, he got the vaccine." "Oh, you don't know he got the vaccine. He got fixed up, but he didn't get the vaccine." Yeah, he did. It's just I don't understand. I really don't.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you there.
Cofield, tell
People,
us, enlighten us. What's up?
people continue to read misinformation on Facebook and and YouTube, and they've just dug in on this whole thing. So we were just talking about it tonight. My girlfriend and I about friends she has who continue to echo the same freaking talking points and not wanting to get the vaccine. I'll tell you, I'll give you an eye opener if you want to go back and watch Tuesday's podcast. Um, Nothing against Allie, but Allie, who hosts our Tuesday podcast, has been not like, crazy anti-vaxxer, but she's just had worries about it. And one of her co-hosts, Lenny, got it last week, and Lenny was on Tuesday, and he's had a really bad run of COVID, like really bad. And finally, she was like, "Okay, I'm going to get it." And I think, like Justin said about 30 minutes ago on that, the woman who sends her kids to school, I think people just assume, hey, if it's not that bad for me, it's not that dangerous. But once people see or know someone who has a really bad experience with it, that's the only thing that'll wake up a lot of people who have just been they're programmed on a daily basis that this is something evil, it's something from the other side, it's government control, and it just seeps in, and you can't
What
get
about
them out
Lamar
of
Jackson,
watching.
who's gotten it twice and one
I
time
I
really
know.
bad, and now it's like, I'm not so still. I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
well, and there's a lot of different social things going. I mean, I'm tired of this topic as much as everybody else too, but there is some interesting evidence out there that this is just bigger than the idea of the vaccine. There's a study that came out that in the last 12 months, the deaths in car accidents as a result of people not wearing seatbelts nationwide went up 8 times. 8 times the rate it has been in the year prior, and basically for the last 15 years. It's been pretty steady, a real low number, and it went up 800% this last year. And their hypothesis is that there's a backlash of submission. I'm not going to be told what to do. And the stupidity that went to is all the way down to the seatbelt, right? Like nobody's going to tell me I have to wear a seatbelt. I'm not doing it anymore. Take it off and and they're dying. But what I'm saying is I think that there's an aspect of some people that they're fighting this based on they think that government has overstepped their bounds on forcing people to do stuff in the lockdown and otherwise, and this is their act of defiance to prove that you can't make us do these things. The other one I've heard myself, by sort of people that are in my circles, is on religious ground. I'm telling you, I'm trying not to pass judgment on this, but like they believe, I know two different people. They believe we're in the end of days because of the California fires, and that I swear to you that the vaccine is the mark of the beast. This is all in the Revelations, and they are just so deep down that rabbit hole that they think it's an act of evil now to get this vaccine based on where we're at. I don't know enough about religion or the Bible to even communicate with on that level and with any sort of expertise. So, but that's what they explained to me, and I was like, oh, okay, okay. I can't argue with you. I don't know what the Bible says on Revelations and the end of days and mark of the beast and all those things.
But it is interesting to the point I just popped up, how many people were down with government intrusion on issues they agree with, and the hypocrisy of it. Now they're upset the other way. So it's crazy. So I've never been able to process this whole thing. The second I would get, if you told me I had to get a shot in my balls every week to keep me from, I don't care. Like,
I mean,
seriously,
they're sitting in a
yeah,
jar on his girlfriend's
I know, right?
nightstand anyway. So
They're
what does it
useless.
matter to him?
But I mean, I like Justin said, if it gets us back to normal life and I can avoid being sick, I would do it. I don't feel like I'm sheep or anything else. And the amount of hassle that the unvaccinated are going to go through now for the rest of the year and beyond, like, I would never want to go through that. So I don't like wearing a mask, but I'm also not a big pussy where I'm like, I'm not going to wear a piece of cloth on my face. I have it on. I have it all the fucking time. I went out to, I've told the audience multiple times the rules that are coming on for the Raiders and then UNLV. UNLV not as stringent. That'll change when we have to go to Allegiant and we have to follow the indoor rules and everything. But the Raiders have, I mean, I don't think people have outed the folks who aren't there. We have a bunch of media people who do not cover the Raiders right now, who normally would, who are not vaccinated, and they still haven't shown up. Like, that's their stand. The Raiders, the access is limited. If you are vaccinated, you have access, and you still have to test every 2 weeks. If you are unvaccinated, you have zero access. So for me,
well, you're lucky. The Broncos aren't letting us in, pretty much.
Yeah, well, I mean we saw what Houston tried to do this week, where they tried to basically end training camp access, and the NFL told them cut it out. Is that right? You guys are not around the Broncos at all?
Well, they have tier 1 guys who are pretty much the suck ups, and then so it's like this stupid thing. Yeah, there's tier 1, there's tier 2, that's it, and so it's very limited. And then it's silly, like, whatever. Yeah, I don't even. I mean, I've chosen not to go to games for years as it is, because I just prefer not to. I think I do a lot better job analyzing games at home. You can rewind, you can hear the announcers, you can see better angles. I prefer watching it from home anyway, unless I want to go cause trouble at a press conference after the game or something. But it was valuable to me, being able to go to a training camp. And sometimes during the week, I would go to cover the team and be in the locker room and ask questions. But
I do think for practice and stuff, especially before the season, on the collegiate level, there's some value to it. Like, I saw some stuff. There's not a lot of people covering UNLV football right now, but I saw some stuff.
St. Martell.
I'm like, I wouldn't know this unless I get to see it with my own eyes. I'm not saying there was anything shocking, but I'm not going to rely on other people and their account of what's going on as they get ready for the season. So I think there's some value there. But Yeah, I mean, it was basically, hey, I want to do my job and I want to be able to go out and not have a whole hassle. And so I don't know. I don't know what's happened to people. So I don't know. And the thing is, Justin, maybe you found this too, and Dan, like there's a lot of people I'm friends with, and I'm shocked that they're continuing this bullshit. Like, what are you doing? Just get it done, man. And they keep going on and on. I don't get it.
We have a close couple of ours where, and they've been married for just 2 or 3 years, and the wife snuck out and got vaccinated. The first fight they've had ever was over that,
Yeah.
and it got touchy.
Dan, we know someone in the media. Their child has COVID. I don't know if the father has COVID. The child is under 3 years old. I don't know if the father has it, but I'm guessing he does. The wife doesn't have COVID. She's vaccinated. The father's not vaccinated. I mean, like, I don't even know how does that relationship even continue? Now you got your kid under 3 sick. That's a game breaker, isn't it?
Well, not if the kid is okay. I mean,
well, but it doesn't even matter. Like, what are we doing?
well, you certainly you certainly have the right to shake your finger and say, "I told you, gosh darn it," and then spend a little money. I guess I don't know. You definitely get some "I told you so" points, but you don't.
We all like to file away the "I told you so."
Steve, let me talk to you about a little bit about how marriage works here.
Yeah,
okay,
I don't
you
want
don't.
no, I'm essentially married.
Yeah, well, apparently not.
Yeah, I don't need that one.
Yeah.
I wanted to throw this one out there because these school board meetings over the mask stuff is getting really crazy. And our buddy Xavier Pope, who's on with us on Thursdays, let me punch this up. He was referencing a CNN story. CNN says arguments broke out in a parking lot after a school board in Tennessee approved temporary requirement for masks elementary schools due to COVID-19 pandemic. Some parents may be torn, blah, blah, blah. In the story, quote, outside the meeting, crowds heckling masked people as they left the session, with one man saying, "We know who you are. You can leave freely, but we will find you." Xavier writes, terroristic threats are not a debate. It's a journalistic misfeasance to report it that way. On the threat part, for both of you guys, like, how much can I threaten people before they actually can go and get protection? Like, can I just walk around generally every day and go, "I will get you. I know where you live. I will get you."
Well, I'll take a stab at this, but I would rely on Dan for. I'm sure he's seen this way more than I've seen this because I don't deal in criminal or family court. I did do some work doing temporary restraining orders, so I could tell you kind of the threshold there. The threshold has to be threats or actual physical threats of physical violence or actual physical violence. I don't think that statement right there, but we will find you, would rise to the level of being actionable in court, either in civil or for criminal charges, because I don't know what he's even saying. To be honest, I don't know what is the threat if they think that's a threat. Now, that's interesting that you caught onto the part of Xavier's tweet that was the threats. The part that caught my eye was terroristic, and my first thought was that's not terroristic, and then I remembered the testimony recently in front of Congress for the January 6th insurrection, in which Capitol Police officer was calling it a terrorist act, and he was challenged by one of the congressmen, and he pulled up the definition, and the definition is through acts of violence or threats attempting to interfere with government action. And school board is government action, so Xavier's correct. This is a terroristic threat to the extent that one would consider it a threat. I don't think it's a threat. I don't think it's there. But maybe Dan has, I think, a whole boatload more of experience in this world than I do.
Could be harassment. Would be actually absolutely could be harassment. Now, how much are they doing it? Is it specifically directed at somebody? Is it just somebody walking by? Is it, you know, are they just doing it in general? Are the prosecutors going to say, we've had enough? We are going to put an end to this. Is this something that this person is just did one time to be obnoxious, to get on the news? All these factors are going to go into this. Does it rise to the level that a prosecutor or prosecutors are going to say, enough is enough? We have to stop it. But the elements of harassment, at least in many jurisdictions, are so vague. It's a blanket thing, and there's other things I think it could fall under as well. But I may have had a case one time where driving the car up onto a curb, where somebody was in a general area, was harassment as well. So harassment is kind of a catch-all thing that if you're not careful, the boogeyman can charge you with harassment. Is it likely if it doesn't happen, if it happens just once, or it's kind of vague, it's probably not going to happen. But if these people are doing this consistently to terrorize people, yeah, you could be charged at a minimum with harassment. Could it go up to a conspiracy thing? And how brazen do they get with it? Generally, people start at one level and then it goes up, 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 and up. And I want to think, wasn't there a case we talked about on this podcast where a gambler was doing it to athletes? He was sending kind of texts like that, or DMs to athletes that were kind of similar in nature to wording to that, and they did go after him and prosecuted him. I can't
And
remember
that
the
was
specifics of it.
over Twitter, and it was
Yeah.
so it was federal. And they were a little bit. I felt, if I remember right, and Steve was all over this story, a little bit more aggressive.
Mhm.
But I wonder too if in the prosecutor's mind, then would the prosecutor consider the fact that these are elected officials and this is could be seen as a petition or a protest to a government official to be heard? You know, a march or a demonstration, and therefore it wouldn't be looked at as harassment so much as it is a petition, or at least be part of the equation.
Right. One time, no. How brazen does it become? Like,
Hmm.
how fearful do these elected officials become? Do they feel like, yeah, this is people exercising their right to speak out against me? Well, they're probably okay. But if the elected officials start becoming very fearful, if the language becomes more and more brazen, which is typically how these things work, right?
Right.
Somebody says, I got away with saying this. Now I'm going to start really pushing the line. And that's when things get more serious.
As a former elected official, I'll just say, from the moment you're an elected official, you should be scared. You should, just in this. I mean, dead serious. In the polarized political world that's created out there right now, you've signed on to that. You're going to be scared. And thankfully in Nevada we had a terrific system. It's like, hey, if you get an email or a call that's anywhere close to the line, don't you make the call of whether or not you think it's good, bad, or indifferent, or actionable or not. That's not for you to decide. You send it to our council. They will look into it. They'll work with the legal authorities to report the ones that they think are appropriate or not. And so I always felt safe, but you also know that, like, absolutely, especially on local state politics, nobody knows who you are except a small little segment of the population, and that small segment is super, super political. And so you tend to get exposed to some pretty extreme uh, ideologies.
Brady saying worked for senator on Capitol Hill. Number of crazies that called and wrote was so high. I'm glad you brought that up, the elected official thing. And just to go back for a second about how the vaccine has been politicized, I saw something. When was this? That was about 2 weeks ago, and I forgot to bring it up. And on air is really not the place to bring it up. This is the spot. So if you're a Republican, how do you handle this? Do you admit you're vaccinated? Like in the next election?
I think, yeah. I mean, clearly they're not it's not a disqualifier for
Okay.
that sort of right. Like Lindsey Graham has been all over it. You know, he's like, "Hey, I'm vaccinated, and I still got it, and I still got sick. If I wasn't vaccinated, who knows how sick I would have been? Please go get vaccinated." You know, uh, I know DeSantis is sort of the face of the opposition, but he got vaccinated, right? So I don't think it's
But
if you
feel,
personally.
but I feel like a lot of politicians are not like they're not making an active statement that they're vaccinated. The reason I bring this up, Governor Sisolak, I don't know who he's going to face, but say it's
Yeah.
Joe Lombardo, right?
Yeah,
Is
I
a
saw this
Republican.
article.
You
Yeah,
did this.
yeah.
This like it blew me away, but in some ways I'm like, I mean, I guess, but this is where we're stooping to. Joe Lombardo, he had a vaccination photo. You can see it right here up on his Flickr page. He took it down. And we know why, right? We think we know why, right?
Yeah,
Like somehow this might cost him votes. Like this is lunaticville.
if he wins the primary, it'll be right back up there, right? But he's dealing on a GOP primary, and so there is, especially in Nevada. I'm gonna say specifically to Nevada, but I think it's greater than that in the nation. But in particular, in Nevada, in the GOP, there is a fight. There is a knockdown, drag out fight for control of what that party stands for. Whether or not it's the far right Trumpers or the conservative, sort of now what would be considered moderates, even though they're really still quite conservative in their ideology, but they still believe in elections and and truth and science and all of those things. Those moderate Republicans and the fight back and forth, and whoever's trying to win a GOP primary has this tightrope to walk of not necessarily siding with the far right all the way, because then you'll lose the general in Nevada. Nevada is a light blue state. If you're far right, if you're well, let's look at the last two gubernatorial elections. Right, we have Sandoval, who was quite moderate, so moderate that he got booed out of Lincoln dinners. He told me once, when you go to the Lincoln dinners for the GOP party, he get booed out. But he was the most popular governor in the state of Nevada over the last 20 years. His approval rate was in the high 60s, right? And then you had Adam Laxalt, who ran against Sisolak, who would, I think everybody would say, was way to the right of Sandoval, and he lost. So, but we all have to remember that Sandoval ran against Gibbons as the incumbent on the GOP, and he ran to Gibbons' right in the primary, and then he became moderate. So when you're in a GOP primary, you can't give away any votes. And so if there's something like that that's going to lose you, even the fringe, even the people that maybe you don't want later or don't need later, you need them in the primary. So you take away anything that's going to indicate to them. This is the theory. This is not what I would do. The theory is you don't divide. You don't weigh in on that side. I'm not necessarily moderate. I'm not right wing. I'm GOP. All of us together just need to join together against the common enemy of the Democratic Party. And so that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to clean it all up, right? And it's also why, I don't know if you saw the article in Las Vegas Sun this morning about why he and Lee have not responded to any of Las Vegas Sun's pretty simple questioning of, is Joe Biden duly elected president? Do you believe that there was widespread voter fraud? What are your thoughts on the January 6th insurrection? What do you believe in vaccinations? They very,
Yeah.
Bland, vanilla sort of questioning, and neither one would respond to any of those questions.
Unreal. All right, Dan, we'll get off politics because I know it puts you in a bad position. First of all, where you are on the road today, where are you?
Steamboat Springs,
Okay.
I love
Colorado.
Steamboat.
Why?
Oh, well, the school starts next week. We're trying to buy. Well, we're looking at it's real estate's tough here, but we're looking at buying a property. So we toured that property today. Uh, this is how crazy it is. Do you have any offers? No. Here's a full price offer. Everything you're asking for. No. Okay.
I don't know. By the way, I don't know anyone else on the show who's been through that. So
Been through. Oh yeah. Okay.
maybe Justin will tell some stories down the road, I think.
Yeah. So
Really? So what's going on? Why is the person holding out, or persons, or owner, or whatever?
well, they're hoping they'll get some more offers, and they're like, well, of course we bid on it blind, even though there's pictures and stuff. We're like, well, okay, well we'll be there tomorrow. We'll look at it, and so we said, okay, we've looked at it. Would you like us to make you another offer? If so, let us know. Still haven't heard back. So we'll see. So we'll look at some other places, meet with some other people in town, and then have a little fun before we got to shovel the teenagers back off to school next week.
What's in Steamboat Springs?
It's a ski town,
How it is?
and then it also has some hot springs in the summer. Great rafting, lots of hiking. Good hiking. It's got Fish Creek Falls here, so little waterfalls. So good hiking, good outdoor stuff in the summer. And it doesn't get too crazy hot because it's high enough up. We like to come here in the summer. We don't ski, so you can have good income if you wanted to. Well, you rent things out, and then we would take advantage of it in the summer and whatnot. So it's a good, yeah, good, great town. We vacation here every year, so we say like, hey, we'd like to buy up here. So it's just a beautiful town, and yeah, it's got the place where I'm looking at the mountain right now. The place we're staying at, it's got a gondola. It's a beautiful town. It's always been great.
Super awesome. Yeah, we spent a winter week there skiing with all the family, and I loved it. Was it Old Town Springs? Is that what it's called? The hot spring that's right in the middle.
Oh
It's
yeah,
called Old Town. And it's like it's what gave Steamboat its name. And it used to have these geysers that would pop off and then make a sound that sounded like a steamboat. That's why it's called Steamboat Springs.
hmm
But they built a whole like little water park aquatic center around this spring. I mean,
hmm
there's like lap pools, and then there's like recreational pools and water slides. I mean,
Yep.
my kids had a blast. I'm a big fan of Steamboat Springs. I mean, if you're going for skiing, it's not the steepest mountain in the world, so it's not got the crazy terrain. I mean, it's got plenty of blacks, but it's a real big blue mountain. It's super great for families. Great for families. We had a blast.
Yeah, we don't ski. My wife, she tried to go skiing with the coworkers, and they tell you, Justin knows this. If you get in trouble, just fall because the boot's supposed to snap out of the binding. She fell, snap, ACL, snap within the first 10 minutes on the mountain, snap.
Oh,
So
God.
she never skied again. I tried skiing as a kid. I got brought down on the snowmobile ambulance thing. I've never skied again, so we don't ski. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm way too competitive to ski. The few times I did it, I was like, I'm not good. Everyone else is awesome. This sucks. So
Yeah.
I get too annoyed by the whole freaking thing. I got yeah,
I
good.
saw just real quick on Colorado. I saw Glenwood Springs. I'm a big fan of Pagosa Springs in the southwest
That's
part
a
of
weird
Colorado.
joint, man. We vacationed there one time. That's a weird joint.
Pagosa Springs?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's beautiful. Just this cool little rafting town, man. I like that spot.
We
I
went, they
mean,
had like a fake zoo. Like these people were just like, it was like what do you call it? Like a bootleg zoo. They were like, build a fence. They had like a bear. They had like just like it was like it had to be illegal. They're like, here, give
Sounds
us
like the Las Vegas
$15.
Zoo.
Huh?
Sounds exactly like the Las Vegas Zoo. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it was like growing up. It was like right off of Rancho.
Yeah,
Was
we
it
were like,
Rancho and Bonanza? They're like a 1 acre fenced in. Here's a dog and here's a fox.
is this place like legal? Like, what is this even safe? Like, yeah, just don't get too close. Don't worry about it. I'm like, okay, yeah, this place was nuts.
Oh yeah, they used to take us on a field trip in school, elementary school, to the Las Vegas Zoo. It is the saddest joint you've ever been to. I don't even know if it still exists. You know, Steve, is that Las Vegas Zoo still around?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh man, yeah,
And
it was not legal, I'm sure.
what's your what's the media's vibe? What's the fans' vibe on the Broncos now? Because they pumped up the odds on the Broncos when Rodgers was a possibility, and they haven't really dropped them. And now the Broncos over under on wins is 8.5.
So camp has been
That's what I think too. But
it's been terrible. So we've had this quarterback competition, and they both look terrible. There's been like no juice in camp. Like, like the first padded practice, like there was no snap, there's no fire. Vic Fangio looks clueless as ever. Every day, his favorite quote is, "I don't know, I didn't see it. I'll have to look." Um, it's atrocious. It's another wasted year. They brought in George Payton, who's this who's supposed to be the new GM. He basically just signed up for another year of everything Elway was doing, which did nothing but get them into their worst stretch in the team's NFL franchise history. I don't get it, which would be okay, except for they're going to not be in a position to get a quarterback next year. You got to be bad enough to be in the top of the draft to go get a quarterback that can make a difference. They're not going to be there. They'll win anywhere from 5 to 8 games. I mean, at this point, I think 8 games would be a stretch. They're just not any good. It depends on, I guess, how bad the Raiders are. Can they steal a game or two from the Raiders?
why?
I mean, we talk about.
Let me ask you, why does it even matter? You're going to get Rodgers. You'll be an 11-win team next year, and the Packers.
Get out of here, dude. Get out of here with the Aaron Rodgers nonsense. That would be a colossal mistake anyway. But
why? He's going to play 5 more years after this.
Yeah, he's going to play 12 years, dude. Why not?
He's going to be the same. But by the way, Brady could play till he's 47. So I mean, if Rodgers wants to play till he's 45, he could play freaking 6 more.
Stop with the nonsense. Stop with the nonsense.
What are you talking about?
First off, Tom Brady won a Super Bowl because he had a pretty darn good team around him. Okay, go put Tom Brady on the Jets and see how far he gets. All right,
Tom Brady is still a top 8 quarterback, and at 42 or 43 years old, Rodgers will be the same. You can win with both of them.
Okay, you're not going to put Aaron Rodgers on this disaster of an organization right now and go win Super Bowls. So you're going to mortgage. I call it high interest. I call it, remember Carlton Sheets? Remember, you could make money and no money down real estate. You can get rich quick. Okay, that's what it is. That's Aaron Rodgers coming to the Broncos as a get rich quick scheme. Remember Don Lepre? You can make money with tiny classified ads in newspapers. He ended up dead, by the way. Don Lepre's dead. Okay, and that's what the Broncos would be if they followed this stupid Aaron Rodgers get rich quick scheme. That's all I'm telling you about. All right, get yourself a quarterback. Go get yourself a quarterback. Let the Raiders make that stupid mistake, okay? Let the Raiders go get Aaron Rodgers. They're dumb enough to do that. Let them make that mistake, all right? That's what I'm talking about.
By the way, wouldn't that be a hoot if the Raiders made a run of Rodgers, made Carr available, and somehow Carr landed on the Broncos and then plays 6 good years from whatever he is, 32 to 37 years old, 38 years old?
Yeah, right. Well, that's the type of quarterback they do. He is exactly the type of Band-Aid moronic move John Elway's been making here. Case Keenum, Trevor Siemian, Joe Flacco. I mean, Derek Carr, sign us up, right? Teddy Bridgewater.
I mean, you don't like anybody.
Yeah, I mean, Derek Carr. That's exactly the type of stuff we've been signing up for here in Denver. And so it's going to be another year of this. Teddy Bridgewater has looked exactly like we thought he would look. Yeah, Don Lepre had a high life in the 80s. Yeah.
This is the guy. By the way, this is the guy I was thinking of, Tom Vu.
I don't know who that is.
It was Asian dude who was all over the freaking real estate gimmicky shit. So.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the Broncos. It's just everybody in the offseason was like, yeah, because every year, oh, the Broncos, they win the offseason. George Payton killed the draft. We've heard it every year for the last 5 years, and they're terrible every year. They won 5 games last year. Oh, but they were injured, Dan. Anybody that plays fantasy football knows every team gets injured every year. By the way, the Broncos hired somebody to be in charge of their strength and conditioning. He's never worked for a professional or college team ever. Okay, he was just a guy that like did really good. Players liked working out with him. Like, here, I'll help you get ready for the combine. He's never worked for a team ever, but we'll put him in charge of an entire NFL team, his training program.
Jesus.
And
You gotta get your start somewhere, Dan. Jeez.
yeah, right at the
Might
top.
as well start at the bottom of the NFL.
Right at the top. And so guess what happened once they hired him? The catastrophic injuries have gone through the roof, but it will be just fine this year. This will be the year they have 0 injuries. I guarantee it. So they'll win 12 games. The same roster, essentially, that won 5 games last year with the same incompetent coaching staff. Do you know how much we laugh about the Raiders making fun of it? It's like, you made John Gruden look inspiring. That was a line on the show last week on the text line. You know how hard it is to make John Gruden look inspiring? But that Raiders game at the end of the year where the Raiders were laughing at Vic Fangio calling back-to-back timeouts to seal the victory for the Raiders, it's a joke. But that coaching staff with the same roster is going to magically not be injured at all and win more than double their win total from last year because it's that easy.
All of a sudden, it's a good year to be a Chargers fan. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, I've heard the Jets are doing very well with how they doing, Steve?
Don't worry about it. Don't listen to the callers in New York already giving up on Zach Wilson. Relax.
One preseason game.
It's 2 weeks into training camp.
Well, that's one of the wins we're penciling in, though, Steve.
You better beat the Jets.
Yes.
But yes, my original point, and I've been saying this locally, that 8.5 to me, the fact that the Raiders finally got up to 8 have been 7.5, 7 on the win total, and the Broncos are still 8.5 is a freaking joke. The Raiders are better than the Broncos. Raiders are not going to finish behind the Broncos. So
how long does Gruden go? If those are the expectations,
dude, who knows? He may keep him around for 8 years. I don't know what's going on with Mark Davis. The whole business side left, apparently because Mark Davis is a freaking lunatic with his money. Mark Davis is in heaven. Mark Davis is like the Cubs right now. It's like, I'm printing money. I had nothing. Nevada set me up. I am rich as F. I don't give a shit.
I want to ask.
We're 500 every year and people are still coming. Good. Keep Gruden around. I like him. He's nice to me. Stay around.
I want to ask Justin this question because I never understood this general partnership they had. Now, I think that Davis family, now they do have a majority stake, but for a while, they didn't even have that. How did they have a general partnership that was set up that the family had almost, I guess it was in perpetuity? Like, okay, even when Al Davis died, his bumbling idiot son had this birthright to control the team. Like, how did like the other owners not be like, because I don't think they have 51% of the team, and maybe they do now, but for a long time they didn't. Like,
I'm gonna
how
take
did
a
that
guess. I'm gonna take a guess and say that you could be the general partner with less than 50% if you accept all the liabilities of the company, right? In a partnership, there has to be at least one general partner who's responsible for the liabilities of the company. And if you're willing to be that partner, I imagine what will come with that is decision-making power, even if you're not a majority owner. That being said,
how can you accept all the liabilities if you had no
seen,
money?
yeah, I've never exactly. I've never seen that really in practice, and I guess all the other partners are like, well, if the team goes under, at least it's not on us. I mean, Mark will file bankruptcy. He's got literally no other assets other than this team. He's got nothing to leverage. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I will say this, man. The people who I know who have encountered him in town, Mark Davis, that is, I said the dude couldn't be nicer.
Right. Yeah.
Well, why not? What's he have to be mean about?
Yeah. Happy as a
Yeah,
clown.
he does have the Las Vegas Aces now. He did buy a WNBA team that will win the championship this year.
Making
I haven't
money,
been to a game.
making money hand over fist on the WNBA. Good investment.
There it is.
I think that could be the reason why Bedane walked. That was the final straw. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Justin. We'll see you